Welcome back. We're still here with Decorex and 100% Design Essays, Design Connect 21. We'll now have our last speaker for the day, Leon Roodt. He is the CEO of Ergoform and Ergosense, and will be talking to us about the future office, the value of data collection in the process of managing and planning the post-COVID work from anywhere strategies. So Leon, over to you. We look forward to your chat.
Hi, thank you very much for the opportunity to share some of our views. And welcome to Cape Town for those of you that are unfortunately not here. So let me jump right into it. I'm just going to share my screen so I can... Thank you. Right, so I've talked about the slides. I'm just going to continue quickly. So business models and process changed. Work styles and work schedules now need to be or new and alternative ones. Designers and clients need to reimagine this. There's certainly on environmental health and in particular quality as a result of the whole coronavirus situation. So we have a few current certainties, which we believe is that there will be a hybrid work philosophy going forward. Working from anywhere is here to stay. It's not going to change. Organizations will then require less real estate. And most companies that we're speaking to here and in the UK and even in the Netherlands are sort of having anything between 50 to 70% of their previous allowance or capacity they're going to try and allow for. But that will depend from organization to organization. The reason to go to the office has changed a lot. The kind of things that you will do when you do go to the office, most South African businesses seem to be saying that they'll require people to go to the office at least 3 times a week, some more, some a bit less. But that will also depend on the type of organization and the type of work that you do. What certainly will change is the mix of workspace types. In other words, the mix of desks versus meeting rooms versus collab areas versus creative spaces, etc., etc. And most certainly a lot of new and innovative multi-use workspaces and solutions will emerge. There's already some of that happening. And one of the big things that has changed is technology. So before COVID, one of the big blockers for organizations and designers that want to really implement the agile working, one of the restrictions was connectivity, power, etc., etc. But I think COVID has helped us to take that blockage out of the way. So now everybody can pretty much work from anywhere, which makes it a lot easier from an interior space design point of view. So the things that people seem to be very uncertain about is staff are fearful. They're sometimes scared to go back to work. They want to know that it's safe, and that will need to be addressed. Otherwise, although organizations will expect people to come back to work, they might just not do that. Then how the actual human behavior will play out, and again, this will probably differ from company to company. Some might carry on almost eventually as pre-COVID, and some certainly won't, but there's nobody that knows what that's going to be. Lack of data and objective information about this future state is one of the biggest problems to make, because the decisions that corporates have to make in particular at the moment are quite big decisions, to close buildings down, to end leases, to spend money to reconfigure your existing space. These are big decisions to make, and they're very risky and often quite costly. So the products that are required for the new way of working is a little bit of a question mark as well at the moment. A lot of corporates and designers are asking, what do manufacturers or or constructors have that they can use, and that is an uncertainty. So there's a lot of this going on at the moment. And then, of course, the big one is what the ideal mix of workspace types would be. How much do we allow for? So as an industry, what would we be required to do? We have to build a productive space where people can work with a lot of mobility. The second thing is that the interior spaces, the actual physical product or interior, has to be agile itself. So I think the days where one had a lot of hard construction done in a space and it's probably good enough for 5 or 6 or 7 years, I think those days are also gone. People will require meeting booths, etc., these kind of products that they can move around, that they can buy more, that they can shift them around as their learning occurs in terms of the new way of working. Then the workspace types that ensure productivity, the problem here is that one's going to have to go forward and create spaces that have a multiple use capability. So typically, like one would have a collab space, for example, but it could also be a lunch table, or it could also be a meeting table. It could also be an actual workstation almost. These are the kind of things that one is going to have to conquer, and it sounds easy, but it's not that easy. So another thing which I'll show just now a little bit of is product solutions that don't have an impact on hard infrastructure. And with hard infrastructure, I mean things like fire systems, HVAC systems, etc., because once you start configuring a space, building rooms, breaking down rooms, if they're not designed in the right way, then there's always an impact on the infrastructure of the building. And that, again, makes it less agile and more costly. So there are some products that are emerging that ticks that box. Then the levels of indoor air quality are certainly going to be a requirement. At the moment, we not so much in South Africa. There are some corporates that are very serious about it, but especially in the UK and in the Netherlands, where we have exposure, they're taking indoor air quality very seriously. The other thing which a lot of people are talking about is, in order to make the space feel safe, one needs to be transparent and actually show some data to employees regarding things like air quality, CO2 levels, etc. Some companies might choose not to do that, but those that are bold and that are serious about it, they certainly, we have one corporate client in South Africa, one of the banks, they are displaying this data in real time from our sensor platform, so that their employees are aware of the conditions that they work in. So it's a bit of a daunting thing to do, I think, because if conditions aren't what they should be, then there's a lot of pressure on the organization to fix it. But that's a decision you have to make as a company. So we need to work free, we need to work safe, and we need to be informed. So how do we do that? We need to design agile workspaces and products. Becoming multi-element manufacturers, and what I mean with that is that traditionally factories would specialize in something. So typically you would have a factory that specializes, let's say, for example, on upholstery products, or chair manufacturing, or mostly, let's call it, desk and cabinet manufacturing. And what we're finding now with the challenges that are ahead of us, one would have to become more than just a specialist when you're designing products, because more elements need to be brought into one product than before. As I said before, multi-purpose products. And I'm going to show a little bit of that just now. I've got a couple of pictures to show. And then what is an important thing is what we're now finding is that especially the bigger corporates that have multiple buildings and multiple offices, everybody has some form of idea at the moment of what they want to do going forward, what they want to try with their spaces. They are all relatively hesitant because they don't know what's going to happen. And as I said before, these are big budget decisions. So what a lot of people are doing is they're rolling out small pilot projects, and then they're actually collecting sensor data on the use of those spaces. And I'm not just talking about desks. So it's desks, sofas, collab tables, high-back sofa booths, pods, all these kind of workspaces need to be measured to see what the employees are actually using when they come back and what they prefer to use. And if you do that, that can validate, firstly, whether you were right in the first place, or secondly, it could steer you in a different direction, which you might not have expected. And in fact, some of the installations that we have currently with our sensor platform, they are actually surprised that it's not what they thought it was going to be. And very, very few people are using workstations or desks at the moment compared to meeting rooms or even collab tables, which was a little bit unexpected, but it is what it is. So it is a little bit early days in South Africa because a lot of the buildings are still very lowly occupied. And it will be interesting to see what the data tells us when people get back to work. So with Agile Spaces, we basically mean these kind of products that can be constructed and can be moved relatively easily, and they're designed in such a way that you don't need to alter HVACs, but it still creates the right environment for people to do what they've got to do in terms of the tasks they need to perform. Over here, I'm just showing some different images of different kinds of products. And a lot of these have been around. It's not completely new, but I think that the use of them will most certainly be accelerated going forward. Like, for example, on the right bottom side, those kind of seating areas which you could use for a bit of research. You could actually use it to do proper focus Excel work, and you get high backs and low backs, etc., etc. Yeah, and they could be used for online meetings as well. Then what I meant with multi-element design. So this is a typical image of a product where on the right-hand side, those two green panels, it's basically an acoustic curtain. So you can slide them along and you can close off an area or you can open an area up. They also have a high level of acoustic value. The table there has an acoustic base. So one of the things that we expect happening going forward is that acoustics is going to be an issue because we've all become relatively used to online meetings, Zoom meetings, team meetings, etc. And sound's going to be a problem. So even if you're now at your open plan desk for the day, I think you will most certainly be inclined to have a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. And even if you do put your headphones on, your voice is still going to be picked up by multiple other users. So that's going to be a challenge going forward, which we think. Again, just multi-purpose design, whether it's a workstation or a table at the top here, and at the bottom, whether it's a privacy booth or you can sit and do normal work there. These are the kind of products which I think will most certainly provide that kind of flexibility. Then on the sensor side, we started a business about 3 years ago, actually before COVID, when everybody was trying to optimize space and fit more people in. Now it's almost the other way around. But our sensor platform is a IoT based platform. It doesn't need to connect it to any of the clients' Wi-Fi or any of their networks. It's completely standalone. It works anywhere in the world. And basically, it's a software platform and a hardware platform that we developed here at Cape Town. And basically, what we do is we can measure the occupancy of rooms. We can measure the utilization of desks, sofas, canteen tables, any space that is being utilized, we can measure. And we also record the environmental factors in those areas, like CO2 levels, light levels, sound levels, etc., etc. And that can give you the data you need. This is just some images from our dashboard. There's quite a few elements that you had to look at, that you need to consider when you do want to plan your way forward. And of course, this is real data, and you can act upon that. This is a unit that we have installed, and it basically displays the occupancy and the environmental elements to an area or to a floor or to a building, whichever way that the client would like to use it. And it's basically real-time data, which keeps all the employees informed. So just in summary, I think that designers will find new solutions for these problems. There's no we will have to create not only agile. So the whole concept of agile working previously was that people could work where they feel like, in terms of the task that they need to perform. But now there's a second element which is emerging, is that the actual furniture stroke construction part of the interior must also be agile. So you must be able to move things around, demount them, reconstruct them, and which was previously typically just a workstation kind of situation. But I think a lot of this will happen now going forward. Manufacturers will be challenged to convert to multi-material production, which is not that easy, but it is certainly possible. And this has to be done, of course, at an affordable cost. So the products which I think most factories are currently looking at, trying to come up with ideas, doing recent development, finding materials, that will certainly come to market. I'm confident of that. And then on the IoT sensor, it's still a little bit early days, but a lot of companies are very interested and are doing POCs with sensors that can give them the right data, that can save them money, that can help them optimize their space, and help them with their strategy going forward, as well as give them real-time environmental data. And indoor quality is probably one of the biggest things over here, where particularly with the coronavirus situation, where it's possible to transmit the virus over the air. And if the airflow and the air quality isn't what it should be, then of course that increases the risk to be infected. Yes, and that is all I had to say. So I'm going to unshare, and then maybe if there's some questions.
Thanks, Leon. That's very insightful and exciting to see what's actually developing in the world of the times we are living in now. There's a question. Can interior designers get in touch with you directly to resell the Ergosense solution set to clients?
Yes, yeah, certainly. Anytime.
Okay, great. Is there any more? Let's just see. Nothing more. Okay. Leon, thanks so much. It is this just to let everyone know that this is all recorded, and we'll be hosting these on our Decorex website, all the talks, so you can always go back and reference. and get all the information. So thanks, Leon, for joining us today. And for everyone who's going to be joining us tomorrow, we'll be starting our first chat at 9 a.m. where we will talk to Jason Wiles in association with the KSA. Jason is the brand and marketing manager for PG Bison, and his topic will be Pimp Your Kitchen, a change in attitude towards your choices of materials, color, textures, all within your kitchen space. So we look forward to another day of inspirational talk. So don't miss out. See you tomorrow.